I'm very excited, Debbie. Thank you so much for putting time aside to meet here in your lovely home, revamped and refurbished by yourselves. So it's got a very warm feeling to it. And this will be the first of hopefully many conversations like this. So just tell me a bit about Debbie Stark. Who is Debbie Stark? Where does she hail from?
Okay, so I was brought up in the Isle of Lewis with my sister and my parents, my mum and dad, and I grew up in a croft. Had a lot of freedom as a child in the Isle of Lewis, and then, like most, left the island in my late teens to study, and never found my way back there.
Oh wow!
And
do you miss it sometimes?
I do. I miss the lifestyle that it offered.
Okay.
And we were near a beach, and I love the beach. I love the sea, but I've really made my home now in Edinburgh, and it is an island that's quite cut off. So yeah, I guess I don't miss that.
And I mean that coupled with the unique upbringing of growing up in a manse. I mean that must have been. Yeah.
Well, actually, my dad, I was 16 when my dad went into the ministry. So prior to that, he was a cabinet maker, and he made kitchen and bedroom units.
And he was quite successful.
And he was very successful. So at 16, when he broke the news to us that he was selling his business and going in for ministry, I think a 16-year-old couldn't understand that.
Yeah.
And it was a bit unsettling. Mum and dad left the island, and that was hard for me, not having the family home to go back to for quite some time.
So you stayed on the island whilst your dad went to study?
We stayed on the island, my mum and I, while dad went to study. And then when I left home to go and study myself, my mum and dad got their first post in Islay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and they worked there for 3 years.
Oh, wow. So I'm assuming then you grew up Christian. You've been exposed to Christian principles and values and stories. How did a typical day look in your household?
So yeah, I grew up in a Christian home. My parents became Christians when I was maybe between 4 and 5. So I do remember a significant change within our home at that age. Growing up in a Christian home, we had rhythms daily of gathering round the table to read the Bible and to pray, sometimes to sing. And my dad was very consistent with that. So I was immersed well into scripture. And I'm not saying as a child I always appreciated it, but I do now in my adulthood. We were regular church attenders. We went weekly, and we'd go to morning and evening services.
Yeah. So I mean that was quite significant in your faith journey. Is there anything else that's been quite defining in your walk with Christ?
Yeah, I think for me, growing up in a Christian home, I know didn't make me a Christian. And I needed to discover for myself what a relationship with God looked like. So when I first left home, my parents' faith at that time wasn't a faith that I lived out myself. So it wasn't until I was 19 that I began to search the Bible for myself and not lean on my dad's input or, I guess, ministers from the church, and discovered for myself the need for Christ in my own life. So that was a real significant turning point in the change of mindset, the change of lifestyle, and the change of heart.
And now, I mean, you're married to Will, you have 3 wonderful children, and you also have a grandchild now. How's that changed your life?
Yeah, dramatically. It is an absolute joy. I've loved being a mum. I've loved having my own children, 2 of them married, 1 at uni, still living at home. But yeah, being a grandparent is it feels like you get a second chance at parenthood,
Mm-hmm.
maybe without the full responsibility and all the juggling that happens for mums and dads.
Yeah.
So we maybe, it's less stress in our life, and it's just a delight being so much part of our granddaughter's life and being able to input and support her mum and dad.
And so not only are you a mother and a grandmother, you're a counselor as well. Before we get into that, do you have any other interests or hobbies that you would like to share with us?
I do, yeah, I do. I'm very passionate about my hobbies. I love the outdoors, and maybe that's part of my upbringing on the Isle of Lewis. I do love beaches. I like a bit of a dip in the cold water. I'm not saying I would do it regularly in the winter, but certainly it's something I enjoy. I love cycling, so my husband and I, we would maybe do some bike packing trips, take the bikes away, the tent, and I love wild camping. We also quite like hiking up Munro, some mountains, and going away in our camper van, taking off. So,
and I'm guessing many of these hobbies and interests are also ways of just decompressing from doing counselling. So on that point, where did everything start for you? Why counselling?
Why counselling? I've always had a real heart for people. And when I was studying at university in my younger years, I did do a week's intensive on counselling. It was just a week. It was very short. But I remember something in that moment, it really grabbed me. But I put it aside and continued, and then worked, and then had a family. But then hit a really dark period in my own life where I needed to seek the help of others. And it probably was a time when counselling wasn't so heard of and a bit more difficult to find a counsellor. I was keen to see a Christian counsellor. And for me, the experience of going through counselling was life-changing. Yeah, I could really say my life went from black and white, although I didn't realise it was black and white at the time, to colour. And it really helped me on my own journey of faith, and just as a person myself. So I think in that moment, deep down, I knew at some point in life, this is what I'd love to do, and I just need to wait and know when that some point is, and that right time.
And so now, I mean, you've had your own private practice for 14, 15 years. Is there a specific area of focus that you have? Am I assuming that you see a lot of couples for therapy? Would you say that's your main focus, or how would you describe that?
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of individuals that come with a variety of issues through my door. But I would say my specialism and my heart is working with couples. I like the dynamic in the room of three, and I love to help couples reconcile and build a relationship that can be better than what they've had, or find healing in the hurts and pains that they experience sometimes in their relationship.
And in your experience, this process, because I heard the process, it's not something that happens. I mean, there's no such thing as a quick fix when it comes to relationships. No. Is counselling a 2? Is it a 3-week process? How, in your experience of the last decade and a half, how long is that process of counselling?
That's a very good question. It's like asking how long is a piece of string, and a lot of it really depends on the individual. And at what point in their recognition of their struggle in life, or what they're struggling with, brings them to my door. For some people, it takes a while to even warm up to the process of counselling and to have the courage to begin to allow their vulnerable self to open up and to expose the wounds and the struggles. For others, they're ready to go deep and dig deep straight away, and so their counselling period could be shorter. So it can vary from 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 18 weeks. Some I've seen for a couple of years.
Okay.
Or a bit more.
And in your experience then, when people do make that commitment to investing effectively in themselves and then the relationships that they have around them, can you think of a specific case study or situation that you were in where you saw a lot of change and transformation? And is that something that almost keeps you going when you get up in the mornings and you've got a long list of clients that you need to see, and you're like, I'm going to hold on to that one story?
I feel really honoured and privileged. I see so many lives transformed in my room, and there's many times I would love others to see the power of the counselling relationship and the journey that I go on with others. There is one in particular that sprung to mind when you asked me that question, and it was a young father who came to see me, and he had tried to take his life the week before I saw him. He was in a really dark place, and he woke up each morning with thoughts of really not wanting to be alive, and they consumed him. And so my journey is getting to the why. Why are you consumed with those thoughts? And discovering that's the fruit, but what's the root beneath it? So we went on a journey together and discovered what the root was. And it was a real pivotal moment in his journey with me. And then we were able to start to look at reasons to wake up in the morning to live. And to see the change and transformation in him, at times that brings me to tears. I just seen him begin to find reasons to live. I had the opportunity to share my faith and to talk about God, and to see when he finished his journey of counselling with me, to see the change in him was, that's what keeps me going.
So counselling, it does a number of things, but what I'm hearing you say is that it provides a lot of hope for people who find themselves in a very dark place. So, I mean, the question then is you get counselling and then you get Christian counselling. I mean, is there a big difference then, would you say, between the two?
Yeah, I would see Christian counselling is holistic. So we work with body, mind and soul. So we are so integrated with our body, mind and soul. So with trauma, each part of us is affected by trauma. So Christian counselling doesn't leave one out. And we also have an ethical framework, which is biblical. And so our approach would be from a biblical perspective. And that's okay, whether that person is a believer or not.
Because that would be my next question. I mean, it must be difficult when you do get someone knocking on your door or sending an email. They find themselves in a place of crisis, but you get the idea they are of no faith or a different faith. Would someone like that be welcome to come and sit in your counselling space?
I have many, and there are often opportunities to bring in your own ethical framework. It opens up doors of opportunity to maybe wonder, is there a higher power on this earth? What might be your purpose on this earth? So there are really good conversations that can be had to explore, where these conversations don't often happen in your life. So when someone comes to you and is starting to question the purpose of life, or why am I here, or why have I been through what I've been through, it's an amazing opportunity, actually. I would probably see it as evangelism.
How hard is it at times for you to hold back in saying, listen here, we're talking about a lot of stuff here and there, but actually what you need is Jesus. How difficult is it to contain yourself when it is very clear and evident in a certain space that what someone needs is, well, just the truth.
Is the truth, yeah. And as a counsellor, whoever comes in my door, I can get many bruised Christians who have stopped going to church, who may have stopped reading their Bible, who are feeling distant from God. So yeah, I know in my heart of hearts what is best for them. And as you say, someone with no faith, the truth. So I've learned ways along the years how to be creative in bringing these conversations to their attention in a way that's very non-confrontational, that's very gentle, that's empathetic, and gets us to explore these subjects in a maybe non-direct way.
Yeah, you used a very counseling, therapy orientated word just now. The word empathy. Why is empathy such a critical part of the process? Would you say?
Yeah, it is the critical part. When someone comes to your door, I guess it reminds me of the prodigal son who came to his senses. He became aware that he was in the pigsty and this just wasn't right. And that probably is often when people come to my door, they realize they're in a pigsty of some sort, whatever their pigsty is. And they become aware that this isn't right and this isn't good. It takes enormous courage to step into the door of a counsellor and begin to share those parts of self that you've kept hidden, that you've maybe ashamed of, or you struggle to even recognise in yourself. So empathy is key to really getting alongside your client, going into the trenches with them and actually sitting with them and seeing life from their perspective and their viewpoint. So there's no judgment, there's no condemnation. It's, I accept you as you are, come as you are, which I truly believe is the model of Jesus.
Yeah. It's interesting. We, in the course I did now recently, it's called multi-directed partiality. And one of the images they use actually is saying, whether you're working with 2 or 3 or multiple people, it's about learning the skill and ability to stand behind the chair of every single individual in the room so that they can feel heard, recognized, and acknowledged. And it's funny, for many people, there are very few spaces like that where they don't feel judged. And I think you are 100% right. Jesus was probably one of the best counselors ever to walk this earth because people felt safe around him. And we spoke a lot about change and transformation in other people. What would you say has been the biggest change in your life since you've started this journey?
Oh gosh. I've experienced a lot of change. When you're, one, through my training, all the practices, the models, the therapeutic interventions, you first of all have to do with yourself. So I probably recognised a lot of my own insecurities and became aware of behaviours and reactions, and having an understanding of where they've come from in my life. And my a lot probably goes back to childhood. So I've seen significant change in how I relate to others, how I relate in my marriage, how I relate to my children, how I regulate my own emotions, how I become more emotionally literate, and how I form a curiosity of compassion to myself. And why did I feel that way, or why did I feel uncomfortable with that, or what's triggered me in that moment? And I would say for me, it's been a steady growth. I'm a supervisor to counsellors, and my top tip would be work on yourself and you'll be able to take the client as far as you will go.
God, like that term, curiosity of compassion.
Yeah.
To myself. I think a lot of what we are hearing these days is just the value of emotional intelligence, and again, just that word, investing in yourself. And that has a knock-on effect on all the relationships around you. So instead of just blaming other people, again, Jesus did this well, like, don't focus on the speck of dust in the eye of your brother or sister, but focus on yourself and your own ability to change things from within. And it's making me think a lot about two words, key words we are battling with today. And maybe we have been battling with it forever, but it's coming to the surface, and it's mental health. And I would add a third word, mental health crisis. And I went to look around on the BICP's website, and they reckon that loneliness is probably the biggest cause of mental health breakdowns. Would you agree with that? And is there any other mental health things that you would like to add to the discussion that you see in the counselling space?
Yeah, I would 100% agree. Loneliness. I think for all of us as human beings, God didn't create us to be in isolation. He created us to be in community. And we've lost a lot of community as we've become more self-sufficient, and our homes have become more equipped with computers and phones, and so we're able to communicate from the isolation of our own home. I would also say that, and I guess this follows on from loneliness, is fractures within relationships. So God created us for relationship and said it's not good for man, it's not good for us to be alone. And he made us relational like he's relational. So when there's fractures in relationships, often what a client might bring to my door is a presenting problem. When we discover the roots, it's often fractures within relationships that can cause us the most pain.
And sometimes it takes quite a while for people to come to that insight within themselves. I think the thing that excites me a lot is the vision, the dream, the hope of creating a counseling space that's accessible to the entire community that we find ourselves in, whether we are in Kirk or Newbridge or South Queensferry or wherever we may find ourselves. I'm excited about it. I know that you are excited about it. Would you mind just sharing a bit of that dream and that vision?
Yeah. So, it could be about 20 years ago, kind of lost count on the years, where I found myself in the Maggie's Centre in Edinburgh when I was supporting a friend with cancer. And when I walked into that centre, there was something about the table actually that was sitting in as I went into the kind of communal room, and the warmth and love on the other side. And I think in that moment, just a cup of tea was made for me, but that meant far more to me than a cup of tea. And in that moment, I imagined read something like this that had a Christian framework and a Christian heartbeat. And it was the broken and the lost and the struggling, and they could come in and receive the cup of tea, but the heart behind it, and help to journey with what they're facing or battling with. And so that began to stir in me, and then I trained to be a counsellor. But I had a real heart to see something within our community here in Kirkliston. But like visions, God sometimes causes us to wait, and I know I wasn't ready, although I thought I was at the time. And so the door that opened for me at that point then was to journey in my own private practice. And there were times when I said, okay, God, is this vision ever fulfilled, ever going to be fulfilled? And I would just sense God saying, not yet, you're still in training. So I'm excited that God brings a minister from South Africa, and you've been the one to come in and to drive that vision forward. And it's exciting how God just positions us in the right places at the right time.
Yeah, and how these things overlap. I mean, it could have been anything else that we could get excited about, but it's specifically counselling. And the hope is to launch something of sorts in 2026. Is that right?
It is indeed.
Yes.
It is. Yeah.
And what will your role be in all of this?
Yeah. Well, my role will be the linchpin in pulling it all together. And so I will be recruiting qualified counsellors and looking at setting up a framework that we will operate from the centre that we start here in Kirkliston, and looking at the right support, possibly some additional training, so that we're all working from the same place, and just ensuring the starting of it, the smooth running of it, all the procedures and all the other things that need to be put into place to make this work in the best way it can.
And so what would you say to someone listening to this right now, considering to sign up for counselling, to enter into a process of counselling? What would you say to them?
I would be an advocate for counselling, so I would be encouraging them it's like an application to apply to be counselled, and we do an assessment and we talk about what they're looking for, their aims and goals, and what we can offer. So I would be saying to them, don't sit on it, don't wait, go for it, and the fruit and reward of it will be far greater than a bit of the pain that you can experience going through it.
Yeah. And one of the last questions is for those who might not feel they need counselling, but they want to be part of this journey. What can they do? In what way can they contribute to this? I almost want to call it a ministry, because that's probably what it is.
Yeah. Well, we will be looking for support in many ways. We will be key that there are people praying and supporting us through prayer and regular consistency and commitment to praying for this ministry. Also, we will be looking for financial support to make this work and to keep it running. There'll be running costs involved. And we'll also be maybe looking for support. Some people might have giftings that are sitting there within the church or within the community that we could really value. That might be admin support. You might be really good at filling out forms, and various ways that as the centre develops, we will become more aware of the support we need. So to encourage you, there'll be lots of opportunities for people to get involved, and encouragement.
Yeah. No, I think it's an amazing initiative, and I can just see it growing arms and legs. And I mean, I think we spoke about the potential of having different types of services under the umbrella of the counselling, whether it is befriending or grief care. So, I mean, this is really a journey of one or two, but many people coming on board and joining hands, and as you said, giving of their time and their talents. And sometimes we would probably just need someone to sit and pray and intercede, and that's just as important as the person doing the counselling, and that's really vital. And just as a last word or question, what gives you hope?
What gives me hope? Well, my hope is in God. When I went through that really dark period in my own life, I remember one day sitting in my home and feeling hopeless. And I just heard this gentle whisper, open your Bible. Now, I didn't feel like opening my Bible, but I opened it. And then the whisper continued, go to the Psalms. And I love the Psalms, and that would be quite often what I might bring in with clients, because it's full of emotion. And it's full of David being in despair and then finding hope. And that was a significant turning point for me of finding hope when nothing had changed externally for me, and finding joy that is an internal joy and not based on my external circumstances or what I have or don't have. So, yeah, that gives me hope.
Thank you, Debbie. Wow.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate the fact that you were willing to not only open up your house, but your heart and your soul. Making yourself vulnerable, as I said. It's been really good, insightful. I hope you listening at home or wherever you're watching from benefited hugely. What we will do is just maybe put your contact details and your email address in the caption below. And if anyone wants to know more, get in touch or offer any of their talents or whatever the case may be, just to get in touch with you directly. And folks, watch this space 2026. Thank you, Debbie. Bless you.
Thank you, Erick. Yeah.